All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
Hello and welcome to the ASAP Sports Network.
I apologize. I need to turn my mic on. Someone should check me on that next time. I apologize. Okay, so here we are on a Saturday night on Sports Minute. How's everyone doing tonight? On the one side, we're going to hear about it tonight, and I already know it, and I don't really want to, but we're going to talk about it anyway. The one, the only, the Vic.
Why, thank you so much, sir. I wasn't going to bring it up until one of you.
Well, I said that if they won, I was going to eat the humble pie because I said that they lucked into that game, and I still feel like they didn't deserve that win. I feel like they don't deserve the Pac-12 championship. Won't lie about that. But
who does deserve it?
Huh?
Who does deserve it?
It's hard to say this year, to be honest. I just don't think you can lose twice. You lose to a winless Cal team and an Oregon State team. You probably shouldn't be in the championship. Anyway, the other side of me is Ace. Ace, how you doing tonight?
I am actually doing fantastic tonight. I am a little tired, but other than that, you know what? I am completely okay.
Yeah. So what I was saying when I didn't have my mic on is welcome to the party. We're going to party tonight. We're going to have a good time. And we want to thank all of you viewers that are out there right now for making us the number one watch show on the ASAP network. So let's keep that up. Let's keep it going. All right. So tonight we're going to go a little analysis from the games that happened today. And then we'll go like a quick rapid fire picks in the NFL. Pow, 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 pow. And then we'll even get into maybe some how do we say that overrated, underrated. We'll
just
get
about
into
right.
some of that. And just about right. We'll get into that too. But before we do that, some business to take care of, some business stuff. So let's pull up that first sponsor of the night and let's talk about them.
All right, so
I believe it's Misty Meadows. There it is. And again, it's an Oregon-made store. Everything made in the store itself. They have a website. Vic, off the top of your head, do you remember what that website is?
I believe it is OregonJams.com.
yes, it is.
OregonJams.com. All right. And they are located in Bandon, Oregon at 48053 Highway 101 South, Bandon, Oregon. And their phone number is 541-347-2575. You can go there. You can call them. You can see what they got. You can go online and you can order it there. And you can get it sent anywhere in the country, by the way. This is not just a local Oregon thing. And so we do something else here on the network that some other networks don't do, but we give away T-shirts. Is that crazy? Is that crazy to you? Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
So Ace, how do you get one of those T-shirts if you want to pick one of those up?
You know, to get one of those T-shirts, it's actually pretty easy. As you see in the comments right now, you got a guy named Brandon Herrera that's actually on the ASAP network, but that's okay. He's on there. He's leaving some comments. That's all you have to do. You have to go on there. You have to comment. You like. You share our page. Now, what happens is at the end of every month, we add up all the views, and the person that has the most views throughout that month, guess what? They win an ASAP Sports Network T-shirt. Fantastic, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Fantastic.
What a deal. Like how do you not want to do that? Just throw a little comment in there. And Vic, let me ask you. If you're nervous, if you think you're going to say something wrong, make yourself look like a fool to put a comment in there. Yeah, like a fool.
Pity the fool.
I pity the fool. Exactly. I pity that fool.
I pity the fool.
How can you pick up one of these shirts otherwise?
Well, it's very simple. You could just message any of us on the network. Go to our page on Facebook, ASAP Network, and it's $14.99 plus shipping and handling. I believe we lowered the price still, right?
We did.
All right, don't make me a liar. $14.99.
No, you're not a liar.
$10. $10.01 right off of it.
Yeah. So let's start out tonight. And we want to thank those sponsors, by the way, and pick up a free t-shirt, get your name in there for the comments. Okay, so let's start off tonight by going over that first game. And I got one word to describe the way the Broncos looked in this game. And I know Nate is watching from behind the scenes, but my word would be putrid.
I like that word. Good word.
You lost by 29 points. And you're supposed to say that you're right on the cusp of making the playoffs. I'll tell you what. Did Buffalo show you anything today? Because they certainly showed me a lot. What do you think, Vic? What did they show you in that game?
As much as I hate it, they showed me quite a bit. They showed me some heart. They showed me Josh Allen is quite possibly for real. I hate it because I don't like him. But he showed, they're in the air and on the ground. They wrapped it up. They took Denver to school and dropped them right in the little detention center and said, we're going to take this and we're just going to sit there and watch us go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thanks for that analysis there, Vic. Ace, I want to ask you a different question because I know you want to say some stuff about this game, but let me ask you, in the offseason, we saw Buffalo make some moves and we knew they needed that premier receiver, right? So they bring in Stephon Diggs and we're thinking, man, this guy, was it a fluke in Minnesota? Was it the fact that Thielen's on the other side? How about Diggs and Beasley being one of the top wide receiver duos in the NFL? I believe they came into this game number 2 in the league as far as yards. What do you think about that, Ace?
Yes, and I will be 100% accurate with you and tell you that going into this offseason, we all said that if one thing that Buffalo was lacking last year, it was definitely their offensive weapons. So then they go out and they trade for Stephon Diggs, which everybody knew. They're like, man, that could go either one of two ways. This is going to either show you that Stephon Diggs was actually who he was, or Stephon Diggs is going to completely crumble because of Josh Allen at quarterback. Because if you think about it, people were not completely sold on Josh Allen yet. Everybody knew that Josh Allen had this big arm, but he wasn't living up to that hype yet. So then it comes into this year, and then you see that connection that Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs has, and you're like, man, this is a deadly, deadly connection. So this is what you're seeing. You're like, man, this is truly what Josh Allen needed. And then you throw in a Cole Beasley in this offense. You're like, man, this offense is really, really good. Like really, really, really good. And I know Nate is coming out on the comment and saying that it was a terrible Denver defense. I don't want to really hear about that though, man. Because this defense also held Patrick Mahomes at bay when they played against the Chiefs.
Exactly.
So I don't want to say that this is just a horrible Denver team. And you got to look at the head coach too. The head coach is Vic Fangio. This is a defensive-minded head coach. This is a defensive-minded coach. This is a brilliant defensive coordinator when it comes down to it. So. Yeah. I will give a lot of credit to Buffalo in this aspect. Buffalo's really, really good. I talked about this about a week ago, and I said on the AFC side, everyone's talking about the Chiefs, saying how good they are. But right now, people want to watch out for this Buffalo Bills team because they are good.
Yeah. So Vic, what do you think about that defense in Buffalo? I mean, they've been hit or miss this year. They have had a couple clunkers, and we'll all admit that. But do you think when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, like when you get into that end, they need to stand, they need to come up with a big game and not give up points? Did they show you anything on that today to be able to hold down a team and make plays when they need to?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even though it was Denver, but they showed that when it comes to the moment, they stand tall. They step up and they don't back down. Like I said, I've been a hater on Buffalo all season, but tonight I'm eating the humble pie, and I'm saying they're totally for real. They're gonna go far. They got Poyer and White. It's gonna be phenomenal. They're gonna do the good things.
Now,
the only one. Go.
Oh, I was
Go
just
ahead.
going to say, yeah, I mean, go ahead. And I'm glad Vic brought that up with Poyer and White. If you had to pick one, so if you're a GM and you're like, I got to sign one of these guys, I got to keep them to a long-term deal, who are you picking out of the two?
It's tough, man, because when you look at Tre'Davious White, you know what he's been for you on that defense, and you know he's been your rock at corner. So it's really hard when you look at Poyer and White. But I'm actually a huge Tre'Davious White fan. I've always been a Tre'Davious White fan. I've always been like, if this guy becomes a free agent, I would love Green Bay to go out and sign him because this guy is that good. He is really good. So to me, it is really, really hard, but I give a little bit more to White than I do Poyer. But now going back to what you were saying to where that defense had a few clunkers, yes, they had a few clunkers, but there was a time this season too that when they had those clunkers, that Matt Milano and Edmonds were both out. And Milano is their best cover linebacker that they have. And so when Milano's out and Edmonds out, that's going to hurt them tremendously on that defensive side of things.
I completely agree. With that. So that was the first game. Now, did you think it was going to be closer than the score? Because I'll tell you, I never came out and thought it was going to be 48-19. I never thought that. First off, I didn't think Buffalo was going to put on a 50 burner up on Denver. I never thought that was going to happen. I'll tell you that. But for Denver to come out and just show so porous, to come out and only score the 19 points, definitely was a surprise on my side. Vic, was that a surprise to you?
I'll say yeah, and at the same time, no, not really. But it was Denver, so I didn't expect great things from Denver. They're in they're rebuilding, as they like to say. But yeah, I didn't see Buffalo dropping that many points on them because they've been pretty consistent throughout the season. But today was just they got stomped.
All right, so Nate, to answer your question on this one, when you're sitting here and you're saying to blame the defense in this game, I'm not saying that you don't blame the defense, but the thing is you can't completely put this on the defense. Yes, they allowed 40-plus points. I understand that. But if you want to win a game, you have to be able to score points too. And scoring 19 points is not going to get it done when you're allowing 40-plus points. So that's the problem too. And that's why we've always said, I'm not a big Drew Lock believer in any way. And I'm not saying that the guy's a bust, but what I'm saying is I don't think that Drew Lock is that type of quarterback that's going to come out and be able to put up 30-plus points a game. That is the biggest problem that I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, that's not how Broncos offense is built. They can't come back from something like that.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, either one of you, but it's never been that way in Denver. Like they've never. I mean, Elway was a great quarterback. I mean, and Manning when they had Manning, but they still, no matter who Denver's been, they've always had a good defense and a great running game, no matter who the quarterback's been.
Right.
And so that's something that maybe they need to get back to is having a great running game again. All right, let's switch things over, and then we have that second game today, and it was Green Bay and Carolina. And now, of course, you're going to know that we had Green Bay in this game, but I'll say that I would have thought that it wouldn't have been as close as it came out to be. To be completely honest, I would have thought it was a little more like the score in the first game. If I'm not, if I'm being candid here,
you were within inches of a block punt. So
I mean, yeah, and again, they do have a great running back, and that has been the Achilles heel of that Green Bay defense. Is when, I mean, they said it during the broadcast. The 3 losses this year, they have given up in those 3 games an average of 150 yards a game to the running backs. So if you can run against them, you can beat them. So Ace, give us some analysis on this. Tell me what you think, because let's face it, we know Rodgers is a front runner for the MVP right now, but he didn't have to do a whole lot tonight, and it's not like he had to go out and throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. So
No.
he didn't have a great game, I would say. He had the game you needed him to have in this game.
Yeah, and so when you look at that too, I don't know if everybody was remembering what Carolina said, that Carolina said that what they were going to do is they were going to come out, they were going to focus on putting pressure on Rodgers, which is what they did. They were able to get to him like 5 times in this game, which is what you want to do. So they said they were going to come out, they were going to put pressure on Rodgers, they were going to try and stop the passing game. They focused on that. They did it because their thing was they said that they were not going to focus on Aaron Jones because they said we're not that worried about him. Well, guess what? This is the difference between a good team and a potential championship team. This is it. When your passing game is slowed down, then you have that running game that can help you out. And guess what? Tonight, that running game really, really stepped up and really showed him, hey, we still have an Aaron Jones in the backfield, and this guy can still pound the rock whenever you need him to. And he did that tonight. Now, you're talking about our defense and stopping the run. Statistically tonight, we did okay in that aspect. Their running backs did not run on us very well tonight. That was a big thing. We were able to stop that. The person that ran the best against us was actually Bridgewater, and that was because, you're so focused on the passing game and trying to slow down the run that everybody turns their back on the quarterback, and guess what happens? Bam, there goes Bridgewater.
Absolutely, 100%, and I agree with that. Vic, let me ask you. So Green Bay, we know, is the number 1 seed in the NFC right now. What team do you see that's kind of their biggest threat at this point?
As Green Bay's biggest threat? Ooh, that's a tough one. Coming out of the NFC, huh? I see New Orleans as their biggest threat with Drew Brees coming back. Michael Thomas is on the IR right now to the end of the season to get healthy. So I see those two squaring off possibly.
All right. I mean, that's as fair as anybody. Is there a different team that you see in that Ace as far as their biggest threat in the NFC?
Absolutely. So I know right now, people are talking about the Saints. Potentially people would be talking about the Seahawks because of offensively. But there's one team in the NFC side that a lot of teams right now should be worried about. And I don't care what their record is, and that is the Washington football team. Only based upon when you look at their defensive front. Their defensive front with Chase Young and Montez Sweat and Ryan Kerrigan. These guys can get to the quarterback. They are really, really good. And keep in mind on that too, they also have the number 1 pass defense in the NFL. So this is a defense that can shut down the passing game and can also get to the quarterback. And if you're going to beat a Green Bay team, that's what you have to do. You have to be able to stop the passing game, 1, which is what Carolina did tonight, get to the quarterback, which is what they also did tonight. The only thing is that Carolina wasn't able to stop the running game. But this Washington football team, they're good enough to where they could do that. And so when it comes to Washington, this is my true fear, is that having to face a Washington football team in the playoffs, because people are overlooking how good that defense is. And I do agree with Brandon Herrera too, is that our biggest scare also is kind of ourselves too, because in games we have to beat ourselves.
Absolutely. And I can't disagree with anything you said, because everyone does overlook that Washington football team because right now, let's face it, they're 6-7. Why would anyone say that they're a threat? But this is a team that started what? If I'm wrong, didn't they start 1-4, 1-5, something like that on the season? Could be 2-4. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You can look that up if you want, but I know they didn't start very good. And so I'll say that
1-5.
1-5, 2-5.
Yeah, started 1-5.
1-5. Okay, so
Yeah.
think about that though. If they even make somewhat of a run in the playoffs, first off, you got the Alex Smith story, which is a comeback story like no other, for sure. And then you would have a team that started 1-5 that actually made a run in the playoffs. That's insane. And yeah, I agree with their defense is a beast. It's no doubt. I wonder whether or not they could put up enough points to compete with a team like Green Bay, but remains to be seen.
Well, and when I look at that too, that kind of is an issue because on the offensive side of the ball, if you don't have an Alex Smith playing, which this week, tomorrow, Alex Smith is not playing. Their starting quarterback is Dwayne Haskins. And that to me is a big concern because Dwayne Haskins is not that guy. That guy's not going to help you come out and win games. I'm not a firm believer in Dwayne Haskins myself. If you're going to win a division, Alex Smith is the guy to do it. Now, I'm not going to tell you that Alex Smith is going to come out and throw for 4 or 5 touchdowns a game because that's not what Alex Smith does. But he's that veteran presence on the offensive side that can come out, manage a game, and not make a bunch of turnovers. He's never really been that guy that turns the ball over a lot. This season, yes, he has a little bit more than he normally does, but that is only because you got to think he hasn't played in a while. And so now he's starting to get back into game mode again. And once he gets back into game mode, I think he'll come back to Alex Smith again to where he can manage a game without turning the ball over. And that's what Washington needs right now. They need that type of quarterback that can do that. After the season, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know if they're going to stick with Dwayne Haskins. I believe that they need to stick with at least Alex Smith for at least another year just so they can get to that. He can be that bridge quarterback that can get you to that next quarterback because I don't know if Haskins is the guy.
No, he's not.
I don't think Haskins is the guy either, but I agree with you on the Alex Smith thing. He could be that bridge quarterback. But again, best comeback story ever, in my opinion. I don't think anyone's ever going to beat it. And I am all for, by the way, we've said it before on Sports Minute, giving him the award and then renaming it the Alex Smith Comeback Player of the Year award because there won't be a better story than that. I can't imagine. All right. It's usually that transition in the show where we start making our picks as far as for the NFL games. A little different because they had games on Saturdays this week. That there's a couple of games we won't be picking. But if you look at the games slated for tomorrow, so if you start with the first game that comes up here for me is Houston and Indianapolis. And so we're just kind of rapid fire on this because we got a lot to cover tonight. So we're going to go rapid fire across the board. We'll start with Ace and then get me and then Vic. So Ace, what's your picks? Texans or Colts?
I think you know where I'm going with this, man. It's Colts. I got to go with the Colts.
And I will take the Colts as well.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers is going to feast on the Houston Texans defense. Yeah, Indianapolis all the way.
All right. You got the Lions and the Titans next. I'm pretty sure I know where everyone's going on this one too, but we'll start and go the other way. We'll start with Vic. But she can't pick the Titans, so
She can't do it. She can't do it.
I can't bring myself to say the words. So we're going Matthew Stafford rips it up. Throws for 4 touchdowns. Go Lions.
That's
All right.
that's the problem though, is we don't even know if Matthew Stafford's playing because of his ribs, so he may not be playing.
Yeah. I'm taking the Titans. So
Yeah,
go
I'm
ahead,
taking
Ace.
the Titans too. I have to because we don't even know if Stafford's playing. But I do want to give a shout out to Madison because she said, "Hey guys," so I'm saying, "Hey, how's it going tonight? I'm glad you're watching the show. Hope you're enjoying." And then I'm throwing a shout out to Andrew Brainerd. Welcome. I hope you're having a great time on the show tonight. All right.
Next game up, Bucks and Falcons. Now, I will say the only analysis I'll give in this, even though do a rapid fire here real quick, is the Bucks on paper should win this game with no problem. But we see this time of year, teams always fall into a trap game. So, Ace, give us your pick and real quick answer the question, yes or no, is this a trap game for the Bucks?
Yes. Yes, I'm going to go with the Falcons. My pick is Falcons.
And I myself actually am going to go with the Falcons also, because I do think it's a trap game for the Bucks. I think the Bucks think that they're on their way to the playoffs, and this is kind of the game they come crashing down because they played down to the Falcons. Vic?
Yeah, Falcons, I mean, they've had some rough luck this year, but yeah, I see this as a game that they take personal. I pick Atlanta. ATL.
The ATL. All right.
ATL.
Okay, the next game, we can all laugh. It's Jacksonville and Baltimore. But real quick while we're on this topic, I'm going to tell you that no matter how the game comes out, there's one guy we can't forget about in Jacksonville, and we've mentioned him before, but James Robinson, the fastest undrafted player in NFL history to 1,000 rushing yards. Phenomenal season no matter what happens down there in Jacksonville. So I'll start with Vic on this one. Jacksonville, Baltimore.
We're going Baltimore. They've been up and down. You don't know which Lamar you're going to get each game, but it's Jacksonville. I mean, they got one good guy. And if they stop the run, they got it. So, yeah, and Baltimore's defense is phenomenal. So
I got Baltimore as well. Yeah, Ace?
Minshew Mania is starting tomorrow, but you know what? But I don't even care. I don't even care. It's still going to be Baltimore because Baltimore is finally getting healthy and getting back on track. So I'm going to go with Baltimore.
All right. Next one's Patriots and Dolphins. Now, this is a bigger game than people think because the Patriots are trying to stay in the playoff race. The Dolphins are trying to push themselves further up in the playoff race. And this has been a crazy game, even with Tom Brady in New England. Miami had managed to win 4 out of the last 9 times against the Patriots. So it was crazy, even with him there. So, Ace, Patriots, Dolphins.
Dolphins. It's hard, even though that Belichick's the coach for New England. I got to go with the Dolphins because New England's offense is freaking horrible. All right. That's my pick. Dolphins.
Yep. Dolphins. I think Dolphins for all those reasons.
Yeah,
Vic?
Dolphins because Patriots offense has nothing. They got no threat. They got no wide receiver threat, no tight end threat. Their defense is iffy. Yeah, Miami.
And Sony Michel's starting tomorrow over Harris for the Patriots, but that's not going to matter anyway.
Yeah.
No.
The next one. So we got asked by Brandon Herrera to do a detailed breakdown of the Bears versus the Vikings. We're not going to go detailed, Brandon. We'll give you a little analysis. Do you agree with that, Ace? We can give him a little bit. We'll give him a little taste on this one. We'll give a little taste on this one. Just because he wants us here to say something good about either team. I can't do that, though. So I'll start with Ace. I'll let him give it a little breakdown and then his pick. Tiny little breakdown.
All right. Here's my tiny little breakdown right here. Yes, the Minnesota Vikings have one of the best running backs in football and Dalvin Cook. So the biggest thing for the Chicago Bears, if they want to win this game, they're going to have to stop Dalvin Cook because we all know that Chicago's defense on the passing side is actually pretty good. They've only allowed 14 passing touchdowns this season, which is tied 4th in the NFL. So not horrible by any means, but they're going to really have to focus on stopping the run, and I don't know if they can truly do that. So in this game, I'm going to actually trust Minnesota more, even though I'm not a huge fan of Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins is obviously not the greatest quarterback out there. But am I going to trust Kirk Cousins more than I'm going to trust a Mitch Trubisky or a Nick Foles? I mean, come on. I got to go with the Kirk Cousins, obviously, with Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. Yep, I got to go Minnesota. There you go, Brandon Herrera. I took your Minnesota Vikings.
All right. And I'll give you some breakdown here. I agree with that on a lot. Like I'm definitely if I'm picking a starting quarterback between those three, I'm picking Kirk Cousins, and I'm gonna roll with it because he does have the experience, and sometimes that means a lot in the NFL. So I get on that, and Brandon, you're probably looking up who's the fastest to 1,000. I didn't say the fastest to 1,000. I said the fastest undrafted rookie to 1,000. Is if I didn't clarify that, that's what I meant. So I apologize if that was not what I said. But I think, yeah, it is all in the wording. I agree with that. But I'm with Minnesota. I think Minnesota's going to take this one over Chicago. I think Chicago's season is over. I think Minnesota stays in there if Dalvin Cook gets going and he can run the way he has been running, I think Minnesota's a scary team as well. Vic?
Yeah, and you did say undrafted, so you did cover that. Yeah, I'm going to go Minnesota too. Chicago's only hope at this point is that in the offseason they trade for Marcus Mariota because he's better than the two that they got. So that was just a joke. I don't know, but it's a good joke because he looked good.
It could happen. It could happen. Yeah, it should have happened. They should have signed him in the offseason anyway, but they didn't. So they're out. Yeah, Minnesota by a lot. Chicago's done. They're folding up their little tent community and getting out of Dodge.
And Brandon Herrera, you are not wrong, sir. Yes, I took the Vikings because I hate the Bears. Absolutely. I will give you that one. You are correct, sir. Okay, so moving on. Seahawks and the Washington football team. We've already talked about this Washington football team a couple of times. Vic, I am going to start with you.
Of course
you got the Seahawks or you got the Washington football team. And I know the Hawks are your team. I know they are. But are they going to be able to beat this Washington football team, especially with that porous offensive line that they have?
Oh, gosh. This is going to be a real test for them. They're at Washington, right? So they're not at home.
They are at Washington, yes.
Not like it would matter this year, but just in theory. I think I like Washington's defense. I really do. And this is going to be a test for Seattle to see where they stand and can they hold up. I'm not going to go against my heart because my picks are based on my heart and my gut feeling. I never go by stats or anything like that, but I'm going go Hawks 100 times.
Okay. And I got the Washington football team. I have to roll with them because I made a prediction that they were going to win out for the rest of the year. And I still think that that's true. I think they still went out and finished 9-7 and win the NFC East. So I'm going Washington football team. Ace?
Oh, man, this one for me is really, really tough because I'm on both sides because I just talked up the Washington football team so much. But then I have Russ Wilson on my fantasy team, which if I'm able to win this week, then I'm in the championship. So I'm like, what do I need here? Well, I do need a big game from Russell Wilson. But I got to go ahead just because Dwayne Haskins is starting. I'm going with Seattle.
All right. Last 10 o'clock. Well, what we call the 10 o'clock game. So let's say the morning game, the early game is how we'll put it, is the 49ers and the Cowboys. 49ers are technically still in the race. I think it's over for them, honestly, in my opinion. But they're technically still in the race for the wild card spot. And the Cowboys, let's just say that. How about them Cowboys? Yeah. So we'll start with Ace. Pick.
Here's the thing: the Cowboys are going to win the East. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to make a. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So.
All right.
So
don't do that, man, because I was like, I need to go to Ace's house and knock some sense into him.
So this one's going to actually be a toss-up. To me, this one was really hard, but I'm going to take the Niners in this one.
I don't really care to pick either team, to be honest. But, yeah, I'll take the Niners. I think that, Niners win. Vic?
I agree. I don't I don't care either way, but I hate the Cowboys a little bit more than I hate the Niners.
All right. Yeah, Nate, take that off the screen. We don't want to see about the Cowboys. Thank you. Next game. So the first in the afternoon games is the Jets, the winless Jets,
The winless Jets.
against the 9-4 Los Angeles Rams.
Ooh.
So Ace, go ahead and pick.
Boy, the Rams have one of the best defenses in football. The Jets are just stink. So obviously, I'm going to go with the Rams in this one. I don't even give the Jets a chance.
I'm going to switch things up. I'm going to go to Vic next. Go ahead, Vic. Give us your pick.
Oh, God. I know I want to pick the Jets because I just want to see them beat Jared Goff so Will's happy. Because I think that would just be amazing, but it's not going to happen. Rams are their defense is going to swarm and just crush the Jets. So, yeah. The Rams are going to take it.
And I'm taking the Rams also. I can't do it 3 weeks in a row and make some kind of insane pick and say the Jets are going to win because I ate a lot of crow for that last week. I will admit that one. But yeah, there's my humble pie. Yep, eat it up. Second afternoon game, late game, the Eagles and the Cardinals. Vic?
Eagles and Cardinals, eh? That's the choice you gave me, and you chose me first.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. They're at Arizona there, so Arizona's home. I mean, Jalen Hurts had a good showing, but I mean, anybody can look good once. I'm going Kyler Murray. I'm always going to roll with Kyler, Larry, and DeAndre. And so, yeah, I'm going Arizona.
I'll take Arizona as well. Ace?
I'm going to actually be different than everybody else in this one. And I'm going to actually – I know exactly. And I'm going to roll with Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right. The next game, the premier game of the late games, as you will, is the Chiefs and the Saints. This is considered America's game of the week. For good reason, because we've already said both these teams are really good. Potential Super Bowl preview in this game? For sure. Why not? Because both these teams have that opportunity. No matter what we personally think, that we have to admit they both do. So, Chiefs or Saints, Ace?
Cool. Chiefs or Saints? This one I really, really had to think about because we all know that Drew Brees is coming back. But Michael Thomas is out. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that the Saints actually get the victory in this one.
All right, Vic?
I got to take Saints.
This is a tough one. I'd love that Drew Brees is coming back. That puts a lot more towards the Saints for it. But how healthy is he? I mean, the dude had how many cracked ribs? You know, the Orioles got a great defense, though. I'm gonna go against every thought I have. I'm gonna go Saints because I love Drew Brees.
And it's a clean sweep. Saints. I think they're gonna take this one. And of course, Nate picks Chiefs. Big surprise there. So the Sunday night game.
Uh,
You know, I gotta say with this one, like, when is the last time that the Browns are going for their 10th win of the season? Does anyone even know the answer to that question?
That would have been back
20 years.
No, if I had to remember right, I think it wasn't 1994 because it actually would have been in the 2000. I think it was somewhere around like 2000. I'm trying to think off the top of my head because Derek Anderson was actually quarterback for them that season when the Browns were going for their 10th win. Derek Anderson, of all people, was quarterback. So I think it was somewhere. man, I think I was just starting college right around that time. I think it was somewhere around like 2006 or somewhere. It's got to be somewhere in that area. I think it was 2000.
Nate's got it.
2007.
I was going to say 2006, 2007.
The Browns finished 10-6 in 2007 and missed the playoffs.
Mhm.
So they still haven't made the playoffs since 2002. So they now have the longest drought in the NFL since 2002. So they're going for their 10th win. They're going for a potential playoff spot. What I think is going to hurt them, though, is the fact that they let Baltimore beat them last week. So that kept Baltimore in the race. Browns and Giants. Vic.
You got Colt McCoy starting for the Giants, and that's about it. I'll pick Baker Mayfield over Colt McCoy any day. I'm going Browns.
You would think I'm going to say the same thing, but I'm
you're not. But you're not.
Because Colt McCoy used to play for the Browns. In fact, he used to be their starting quarterback. So Colt McCoy is going to go out in this game and show them, you should have stuck with me. Giants.
Did you get hit in the head or something? Are you okay? Because I'm really concerned for you right now.
I'm waiting for the comment from Freddie Henderson.
No, I'm going with I'm going to actually go with the Browns in this one. And it's funny, though, too, because when you talked about that playoff drought with the Browns back in 2002, I think the funny thing is that people probably don't remember, but their starting quarterback at that time was actually Holcomb. And they were
Holcomb.
And they were actually going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was that crazy, like, high-scoring game. So, yes, I will go ahead and I'll take the Browns.
You know what? And just for the sake of entertainment, let's look at the Monday night game. That's the Steelers and the Bengals. Why not? Really? Why not? I mean, do we really need to look at it? Probably not. But let's do it anyway. Ace. Steelers or Bengals?
It's funny because the Bengals this week are actually going for a quarterback change. So their quarterback this week isn't going to be Allen anymore. They're actually going to go with Finley this week. So Ryan Finley is going to be their starting quarterback. But it's not going to matter. I still got to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I think I would take Burrow on one leg over any quarterback that they have right now for the Bengals. Steelers. And I'm telling you, the Steelers are not very happy after their last two losses. So I actually kind of feel bad for the Bengals in this game because Big Ben is going to destroy them this week.
Everything he just said.
Right.
Pittsburgh is mad, and they're going to come out and take it out on poor little Cincinnati.
All right. So before we transition to our next segment, let's pull up our next sponsor, if you would, please, Nate.
Pull it up.
I believe it is Suzanne's Paparazzi. Hey, look at that. Suzanne's Bling Paparazzi. 24/7 shopping available. Paparazzi accessories. $5 jewelry. Go on there. paparazziaccessories.com/160920. And Vic, if I'm not wrong, you have ordered stuff from here, and it's great stuff, correct?
Absolutely. I've done 2 orders so far. Bought some of my Christmas presents from there. Shipping got within 5 days. FedEx dropped it right on my porch. It's great stuff. I don't know if they liked it yet because I haven't opened it yet, but I guarantee they're going to like it. And I'll be sure to let you know how that goes once I open it. But I got my stuff, and I love my stuff. So, yeah, big time. Christmas,
all right.
Get on it.
Thank you for that, Vic. And don't forget, Christmas right around the corner. Get on there, order some stuff. Hey, guys, don't be that guy in the last minute. Now, please don't be that guy I have to help at my 9 to 5. Store's closing on Christmas Eve, and you're there like, you know how many vacuums and mops I sell on Christmas Eve? Because I'm just like, hey, this is what we got. Just buy it. Please don't be that guy this year.
Don't buy a mop. Don't hit
Suzanne's Paparazzi. Get your stuff. Get it done. I mean, $5. $5. You can't go wrong. And she doesn't have to know it was $5. She won't know. She'll be so happy you remembered and didn't have to go on Christmas Eve. it won't matter. All right. We'll move
Or
on
go
to
to
the
Misty
next.
Meadows and get some jam. I mean, come on.
Why not?
Who doesn't love
Go to
jam?
me.
And they're right close. You can drive right there.
Mhm.
Exactly right. So now let's not forget that as well. All right. Next segment is overrated, underrated, or just about right. So
Like porridge.
Porridge.
yeah,
Porridge. I
too
love.
hot, too cold, or just about right. We call it the Goldilocks segment.
Yes, absolutely. All right.
All right. What players you got for us this week, Ace?
I have some great players, and I have players that you're going to be like, oh my God, really? You're going to go with these guys? Absolutely, I'm going to go with these guys. So my first one of the night, and I know how J-Mac's going to feel about this. The Vic is going to probably feel about it the same exact way. But my first overrated, underrated are just about right player of the night. We're going to start over in Jacksonville with that man of Gardner Minshew. Overrated, underrated, or just about right. So, J-Mac, you can go ahead and take this one away first.
Boy. Oh, what to say about this one? Man, it's so tough because Jacksonville's not expected to do much this year, and they haven't. I'm going to say slightly overrated. Just because of the whole Minshew Mania thing, I don't think he's ever done anything to live up to Minshew Mania status. He had a couple of good games. He had a great game to start the year. He's got a great mustache. But listen to me. Your team has lost 12 games in a row since you started 1-0 and beat the Colts. Congratulations. You won a game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get a participation trophy in the NFL. You've lost 12 games in a row. Pick it up.
All right, Vic, overrated, underrated, or just about right?
The mustache, just about right. The whole Minshew Mania, so overrated. I never got it. I never understood it. I mean, he never did anything that spectacular to me to quantify a mania to happen. So yeah, overrated. And he'll continue to be overrated till he's obsolete because he's a cougar.
Right. He'll probably be in that category for a while. So the next one, and this one I might get crossed on a little bit here. I might get something different from the Vic than I will on J-Mac. The first one, or I should say the next one that I'm going to mention, we're going to jump over to the Atlanta Falcons because I know how you guys feel about the Atlanta Falcons. But we're going to actually jump to Matt Ryan because when we hear about elite quarterbacks in the league, his name's not really brought up a lot. But he's put up a lot of yards in his career. And he's actually put up – he was the fastest through – I forgot exactly how many games.
13.
Yes.
13.
Yes, through 13 years, he was the fastest to put up over 50,000 yards. He beat out Brady, Manning, Breeze, and pretty much everybody at that point. He's the fastest to do it. All right, so the Vic, I'll go ahead and start with you on this one.
Wow. He's not talked about a lot. I mean, they call him Matty Ice. Oh God, I hate it. I mean, he's put up great numbers over the years. I mean, MVP numbers.
And he's been in MVP once too. So
yeah, he won the MVP, I believe. Yeah.
Yes, he did.
God, I feel horrible with either one I'm gonna say because there's an argument for it to be the other way. But I'm gonna say he's underrated.
Okay. Do you have a real reason why you're saying it? I'm just curious.
I don't feel that he gets enough talk about compared to other quarterbacks that are talked about more. I think he's right up there on the level of Drew Brees, right up there on the level of Tom Brady. I mean, maybe he doesn't have the wins that they have, the big wins when it counts, but I mean, he's an elite QB, and he needs to be respected that a little bit more than he has been. Because just because Atlanta's having an off year, and they squandered a Super Bowl win, I just feel that he's not getting the attention that he deserves down there in Atlanta.
So, Vic, I do agree with you on most of that. When I look at this category, though, I kind of think about him like a Matthew Stafford, because we all know that a Matthew Stafford is very, very underrated. But the difference is that Matthew Stafford has never really had those weapons like a Matt Ryan has. Matt Ryan has had a ton of weapons in his career. A Julio Jones, a Calvin Ridley, a Justin Gage, a Taylor Gabriel, and Devontae Freeman. So he's had a lot of weapons in his career, but he's never won a ring. But then yet again, he hasn't had what you would call the best defenses either. So that's also been a problem with him, is the defenses, just like we say with Rodgers, it's the same thing with Matt Ryan. It's the defensive side of the ball. That's what's been lacking for him the most also. So I'm going to actually say he is an underrated quarterback. So J-Mac?
Oh, he's completely underrated, because let me take you back to that Super Bowl. Now, yes, they were up 28-3, and you should never lose that game. But I'm going to break it down to you, and I'm going to tell you, not 28-3 was not the turning point in that game. The turning point in that game is when you're winning 28-17, you have the ball, 4th and 4 from your own 46-yard line, okay? Now, you go for it. You go for it, and you miss it. You get Brady the ball at the 46-yard line, down 11 points. What do you think is going to happen? You can't give a great the ball. You punt, you pin him instead of that. So what I'm boiling down to here is, this is not Matt Ryan's fault. Everyone's like, yeah, but he choked in the Super Bowl. No, it was a coaching decision that backfired. That coach has been fired since then because he deserved to be fired, because that coaching decision cost them a Super Bowl. You punt the ball, you trap him inside the 10 and make him drive the entire length of the field. That's what lost them that Super Bowl, not Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is – I would take him on my team for a quarterback, anything. Put him in Jacksonville, and I guarantee you – and I'm not saying that they would win the division, they'd be in the division race or the playoff race. But you put him in Jacksonville where they are – that championship game against New England – I guarantee you they win that game if Matt Ryan's their quarterback. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm totally with you in the Super Bowl aspect, because you got to think there was some bad play calling from halfway through the third quarter through the fourth quarter. There was some bad play calling. When all you have to do on that one part is run the ball, and they decide to pass it and Matt Ryan gets sacked way back, and it takes him out of field goal range. I'm like, you're kidding me, right? The horrible play calling. All right, so we're all in agreement on the Matt Ryan thing. Underrated, no doubt on that one. Thank you. And somebody's dryer keeps going off.
It's the end of the fourth quarter.
It's the end of the fourth quarter. All right. So we are going to actually go to Washington now, because this is a guy that we haven't seen in a few years until this season. And I'm going to actually go with Alex Smith. So Alex Smith, is Alex Smith overrated, underrated, or is he just about right? So J-Mac, you can go ahead and start with this one.
This season or his whole career?
His whole career.
Whole career, he's just about right. I don't think that he's overrated or underrated. This year, he's very underrated. But his whole career, he's probably just about where he should be. I mean, thank God he got out of the Niners, because that was just a bad and awful experiment there. But he's been a winner everywhere he's went. He went to the Chiefs and had them in the playoffs consistently. He went to Washington. He's had them in the playoff race every year. So I think he's just about right.
I like it. All right, Vic.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with J-Mac on a rare occasion.
Wow.
He's just about right. I mean, maybe a little slightly underrated, that people don't expect much from him because he's just a guy from Utah. that nobody really saw anything special in. Number one pick, absolutely, but he never had that flash. You know, he did like the Mahomes flash or the Breeze flash that that they exude. He's just a quiet guy, goes out, does his business. So yeah, just about right. He's right where he needs to be. This year, definitely underrated this year because he's doing a phenomenal job so far this year.
And you know what? I would agree with you on the just about right thing because when you look at Alex Smith, everybody knows he was the first overall pick.
Yeah.
And so when you're a first overall pick, you have high expectations, especially when you're a quarterback. Has he lived up to those expectations? I mean, you'll get a lot of no, he hasn't. But the thing is he's done his job. He's won games. Has he won the big game yet? No, but there's a lot of quarterbacks that have not won the big game. So with that being said, I'm going to tell you he's just about right. He's that type of quarterback that you're like, you know what? We need a win. He'll go out there and game manage like we need him to. He won't turn the ball over. He's just about right. All right. So that is our quarterbacks. Let's see. So Andrew actually says, how many more years does Matt Ryan have left in the tank? How many more years do you guys think Matt Ryan's going? Because this is his 13th year. So I don't know. I'm going to say he's got maybe 3 to 4 years left.
Yeah, as long as he stays healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Yeah.
As long as he stays upright. That's what I'm going to say. As long as he stays upright, I will completely say that. All right. So now we'll jump to the receiver side of things. Yeah, we're going to throw a few receivers out there. Absolutely, Vic. We all love receivers. Sometimes I don't think receivers get enough credit. I really, really don't think they do. A lot of receivers, you hear, oh, look at that excellent throw by the quarterback when the receiver makes a diving catch for it. And you're like, you're kidding me, right?
The receiver did all the work there.
That. And the receiver just made that one-handed catch. Yeah, so congratulations. All right. So the first receiver that I'm going to actually go to on this, we're going to jump over to Pittsburgh because we haven't really touched on Pittsburgh. And I know it's his first year, so it might be a little bit hard to say if he's overrated, underrated, or just about right yet. But I was going to ask about Chase Claypool.
Ooh.
What do you think? And I'll go ahead and I'll start with J-Mac because this one's tough. He's come out and he's played really well as a rookie.
Yeah, I guess I have a clarifying question. What round was he drafted in?
Chase Claypool, I believe he was drafted in the third.
Then he's just about right because you draft a guy in the third round, he's more of a project guy, and you know that. You know he's not going to come out and be something spectacular in his first year, or you don't expect him to be. He's probably been a little better than expected, but I think he's just about right for the time being. And we'll see where he goes after that, but he's just about right now.
All right, Vic?
Yeah, I actually think he was a second-round pick for Pittsburgh.
I don't remember right off the top of my head. I thought he was the third round, but you could be right.
I don't know. He's had some really good games, and then he's had some games where he's kind of just disappeared. So I'd say he's about right, just about right. Just at this point in his career. I mean, rookie year, you're doing, you got Big Ben throwing you balls that are basically right in your bread box. All you got to do is just catch them and run. So yeah, just about right.
Did we just agree twice?
I think we did.
You just
is there a full moon happening or something?
I know. I'm starting to feel sick to my stomach, honestly.
So this next name that I'm going to throw out there, J-Mac might be a little torn on this one because this guy was an ex-Green Bay Packer, an ex-Dallas Cowboy, and that guy's name is Randall Cobb. So is Randall Cobb overrated, underrated, or just about right? And I'm going to go ahead and I have to start out with J-Mac on this one.
Man.
Have at it.
Honestly, if I'm based on the way he's played this year, the way he played in Dallas last year, and not his Green Bay career, he's overrated. But In Green Bay, this guy was the biggest Bears killer probably ever in history. He would run the middle of the field and put his hand up before he was even past the linebackers because he knew he just burned all of them. So probably just about right at this point in his career because I believe he was really underrated in Green Bay and now he's overrated. So that balances out to probably just about right, just about where he should be right now.
All right, the Vic.
He's in Texas, Houston, right? Texan.
He is, but he's on the IR at the moment.
Okay. I mean, in Green Bay, he was good. He was doing the Lambeau leap like crazy, but he also had a great quarterback throwing the ball. So
Deshaun Watson's not a great quarterback?
Not as good as Aaron Rodgers.
Well, that wasn't the question.
I know, but I'm just saying. And he did really good in Green Bay because he had a great quarterback throwing him balls.
Dak Prescott's not a great quarterback?
What?
No.
I'm just asking because there's people out there that'll tell you Dak Prescott is the second coming of God.
Well,
So
they're
I'm
incorrect.
Okay. So just so we're clear, that's all. I was just trying to clear that up. Wow. That's it.
None of them compare to Aaron Rodgers. That's my whole point.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. But that's all I was just asking a question.
Yeah, when you have a future Hall of Famer throwing you balls, I mean that puts you at a whole another level. But I think he's just about right. I would say he's not the number one guy, but he's also not the guy coming off the bench either. I mean, you can't. He's got good hands, so yeah, just about right. He's not flashy or horrible. He's just right in the middle. He's the warm porridge.
Yeah, no, he's definitely just about right because he's a guy that if you need to move the chains, he's going to be that guy. He's not that kind of guy that's going to burn you deep now because that's not his game anymore, but he's definitely a chain mover. And I completely agree with J-Mac on the aspect that this guy was probably one of the biggest Bears killers there ever was, man. He's burned him multiple times. And that was always the greatest scene. All right. So
real quick, I just have to say,
yeah.
I was watching the game when it was 4th and 6 from the 46-yard line, and he burned them over the top for the touchdown to win the division the year they went 8-7-1. And I'm in the bar watching that with my friend James, and he's sitting there staring at the TV because he's a Bears fan, and he's like, "Oh crap, Cobb's open." Like that was it. That was his entire thing because he knew that's where Rodgers was going, and they just lost the division title.
Right, it happens. It happens just like that. Just like that.
Like that.
So we're going to jump to our last player of the night for overrated, underrated, or just about right. And we're going to actually jump to the Minnesota Vikings. And our player that we're going to be talking about for overrated, underrated, or just about right is actually none other than Adam Thielen.
Ooh.
Because when you think of Adam Thielen was one of those guys that kind of came out of nowhere. Adam Thielen was not a big-time name. And now he's like pretty much the main target for Kirk Cousins. So overrated, underrated, or just about right. The Vic, you can go first on this one.
Wow. Adam Thielen. He's the go-to guy. He's the count-on guy, and I don't think he's talked about enough. I think he's kind of just because he's not the flashy guy. I say underrated. He's so underrated. He's so much more. He's so important to that offense and to Kirk Cousins. When you need a guy to get you a first down, just like Randall Cobb is. When you need a guy to get you the first down, he's got you. So yeah, underrated, 100%.
All right, J-Mac.
Well, an unprecedented thing that's about to happen in the history of this show. Vic and I are about to grieve for the third time.
Oh my God.
Unreal. Yes, I agree. He's underrated, immensely underrated, in my opinion. If this guy played on a different team, if he was in New York, if he was in LA, he was in Dallas, he'd be one of the most talked about players in the league just because he goes out there. And I can't stress this enough. He's not a guy that comes in after the game and sits there at a microphone and tells you that he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Okay? He knows his role. He knows just to go out there and let his game do the talking. He doesn't need to talk a lot. And that's really lost in these days in sports. Guys got to go out and talk. So Adam Thielen is very, very underrated. Absolutely.
I 100% agree with you on this one, too, with Adam Thielen being completely underrated. If you remember actually a few years back to where Adam Thielen was on that absolute tear to where he had like 8 consecutive games with over 100 yards to start the season. And everyone's like, is this guy going to break the record for receiving yards in a season? And then he got hurt in that game, and then his numbers slowly declined. And that was because he had gotten hurt. But imagine if he would have stayed healthy. And so that's when his name really started picking up, and everyone's like, oh, Adam Thielen, he kind of reminds you of a Jordy Nelson. But in that aspect, he's a completely underrated receiver.
Yeah,
so that is all I have. Huh?
He's Mr. Reliable. He's not going to drop the pass. He's not going to make the flashy catch and then taunt someone. He's just a good guy, and he's a good receiver. He needs to be talked about more.
So that's all I have tonight for overrated, underrated, or just about right. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pass it back to J-Mac.
Yeah. You looking at some stuff. So obviously we're gearing up towards the playoffs. There's some playoff matchups that are impending. How much different do you think it was this year? Only going to the number 1 seed is the only team that gets a bye. Do you think that changed a lot of teams' perspectives on vying for that number 1 seed versus settling for the number 2? Or do you think they're still kind of, well, I guess we have to play wild card weekend if we get the number 2? Vic, what do you think?
I definitely think that changed the perspective because, that week of rest sometimes determines if someone's eligible, someone's playing or someone's not playing. They need that extra week to heal. So I think it has a huge impact on it. Everyone's, I don't think Drew Brees would come back this early if they were, if this wasn't the scenario where only the number 1 seed gets the bye. I think Drew would wait another couple of weeks just to make sure he's 100% ready to go. So, yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely. And Ace, go ahead and give us your take on that.
Yeah, which in that aspect, I completely agree with you because if you remember, though, several teams were actually fighting for this for years, to where teams said we want another team in, because there was teams who would finish 7th, who might have been 10-6, with a team that got in ahead of them that was 10-6, and they're like, wait, we should have a shot at the playoffs too because we were 10-6 and they were 2. So teams were fighting it for a long time, being like, we want that extra team in. Well, then the NFL's like, you know what? You want in that extra team, then you're going to lose. Then you're going to lose a first-round bye of a team. And guess what? That's what ended up happening. They lost that first-round bye of a team, so now teams have to put that into perspective. And a little bit at the end of the season, it kind of changes how they have to play. Instead of being like, now I can sit my starters, some of them can't do that now because they're still buying for that first-round bye.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with all that analysis on that, and I feel the same way about it. I think the NFL did a great job with that, with saying, okay, you want another team, then we're only giving 1 team a bye. Okay, well, it works out matchup-wise, and then it works out, otherwise too. So I think that the NFL did a great job. So do you think that it's time the NFL looks at, again, changing the playoff thing a little bit? As to far as my point is this. My point is if the Washington football team wins their division, right, and they're in the driver's seat right now, they finish 9-7, and then you have a wild card team per se that finishes 10-6 or 11-5. Well, with the current playoff seeding the way it is, that team that finished with a better record has to go to Washington and play an away game in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Is it time to just stop saying that you get an automatic 1 through 4 seed if you win a division, and just go standard just by record for what your top seedings are? What do you think, Ace?
I've thought about this for a while too, and I've looked at both sides of the scope here, because if you remember several years back when there was a Seattle Seahawks team that went 7-9, they won their division. They came in and they got a home game, and then they ended up beating the New Orleans Saints. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those interesting things to where you're like, well, did they deserve it? Well, they kind of showed they did, because they came in and they were able to win in the first round with a home game. And so my perspective on that is, if you win your division, I guess in a way you've kind of earned it, regardless of what your record is, because you had a better record than your division foes. So you got to give them credit on that aspect.
Vic?
That's a tough one. I believe that, I don't know. I really don't. It's tough to say if you win your division you don't get home field advantage. It's tough to say that you don't deserve it, even though your division is horrible and you have a losing record going into it. But I mean, you won your division by proxy. You get home field. That's just how it. But I could maybe see in the future maybe it changing a little bit. But I think it's fair the way it is right now. With if you win your division, you get home field because you've proven a little bit that you somewhat deserve it.
Okay. Well, I think one last question for the night. It's going to be NFL related. What's your guys' take on? Do you think that running backs are a premium position and should be paid as such? Say as a quarterback, a wide receiver, a linebacker, because everyone else says, well, you can running backs are a dime a dozen. You can find another starting running back next year if you let your guy walk in free agency. Are we starting to see that as far as these guys that held out for all this big money, like an Ezekiel Elliott, a Melvin Gordon, and then these teams are seeing, oh, we can go get a young guy and pay him on a rookie contract for 4 years. What do you think? What do you think, Vic? What's your take on that? Do you think you should pay running backs, or you just kind of rotate them in every 3 or 4 years?
I think we're out of the era of where running backs are the focal point of the offense. We're not in the Emmitt Smith areas anymore. We're not in the Ricky Waters era like at San Francisco, where the running game was the game. Now it's like with Melvin Gordon. He sat out. Who'd that give time to shine? Austin Eckler. So if someone can step in and shine, then I mean, a running back is going to get hit more. They get hard. They put more wear and tear on their body. They should be paid what they're worth, absolutely. But I mean, a running back should be a good 5 or 6 years before they lose that ability to hit the hole and cut and get through. So,
all right,
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Sorry. Ace, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, so, I do agree that running backs should be paid with what they're worth. But in that aspect, too, you're going to see a lot of teams who, like, let's say, for instance, you get a Green Bay Packers team that Aaron Jones is, like, really, he's a really, really good running back. He's going to get you a lot of touchdowns, a lot of yards. And they're like, okay, do we want to pay him? Or do we not? So then what do? They go out and they draft a running back in the second round in a A.J. Dillon. And they go, okay, now if A.J. Dillon is that guy and he's going to come out and perform, guess what? Now we don't have to pay Aaron Jones that type of money because they don't want to do that. And so that's what you're going to have to look at. And I think that's what a lot of teams are focusing on right now. They're not going to pay the running backs like they should be.
No, and that's precisely my point, is because you look at, I mean, can you name the starting running back for the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, it's Myles Gaskin.
Okay. But my point was, we can, and you're right, I knew that too. But could you walk up to someone down the street that says, I'm an NFL fan? Could you walk up to him and say, who's the starting running back for the Dolphins? They wouldn't know. And that's precisely my point is, yeah, he's starting this year, and so the Eagles are a great example. They got like 6 guys deep at running back, and any of them can put up 100 yards a game. The Bears have always been great about that also. So Yeah, I think Vic's right on the fact that it's kind of getting away from needing a premier running back on your team to survive. You just need someone to carry the ball 10, 15 times a game, catch a couple passes out of the backfield, and you can rotate a couple guys in that can do that. So it's definitely changing the game, and I think the game's going to change even more. Well, that's really all we had for you guys tonight. I want to thank Ace and Vic for coming on the show. I'm going to give you guys each, let's say a minute. I'll give you guys each a minute to say whatever you want to say. And Vic, I have to say, I'm going to start with you, but I will say this. I will say that I never thought in a million years you were going to get your dream matchup on Thursday night.
It was my dream scenario.
It was a dream scenario, and I'll tell you what. Justin Herbert, Rookie of the Year, hands down.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone else in the running now. But go ahead and take your minute, whatever you want to say.
I will just say, and I know it's going to go, but this has been the best week to be an Oregon Ducks fan. We signed the number 3 recruiting class in the nation. We extended Cristobal through 2026. Mariota and Herbert together on Thursday Night Football, and they both did amazing. I mean, Marcus looked good. He looked like the guy that we all thought he would be, as he was protected. Oregon Duck women's basketball beat the Huskies today. Men beat the Portland Pilots today. And, of course, yesterday, the big debate. But Oregon had an opportunity. They were gifted an opportunity to play because Washington forfeited. And they took it and they won it. So, I mean, people are like, it's an asterisk. They shouldn't deserve to be there. 3-1's a better record than 4-2. But guess what? Oregon gets the ring. Oregon's going to the Fiesta Bowl. They could have believed everybody's thought they didn't deserve to be there. And maybe they didn't deserve to be there. But you know what? They were there, and they took it, and they owned it. So it's the best week in the world to be an Oregon Duck fan right now. And Wednesday night we talked about the Chargers and Raiders in my scenario, and Ace was even like, well, what if he comes in? What if Mariota comes in? And I said, Mariota's going to do great, Herbert's going to do great, but the Chargers are going to win. And even though our kicker is horrible, and I don't know how the dude still has a job. He's missed 9 field goals this year. I don't know how Anthony Lynn still has a job. I hate him. But, I mean, it's just been a great week, man. It's like early Christmas for me.
All right.
I couldn't be happier. So
thanks, Vic. And yes, I will, from the ASAP network, we will congratulate the Oregon Ducks on a Pac-12 championship because you're right. Whether or not we think they deserve to be there, they got it gifted. They went out, they got the job done. They get the ring, they go to the Fiesta Bowl. So great job there on the Ducks. Ace,
they
1 minute.
They beat undefeated USC on USC. So
yeah.
My
Ace,
1 minute.
go.
So I want to say that we had an excellent day of football. There was one good game. I'm glad, though. I'm glad that we were able to get the win, and I'm glad that we were not having to rely on our passing game the whole game. I'm glad that our running back was able to step up and show people that we have a running game too. It's not just our passing game. It's our running game. Next week, I am definitely looking forward to next week when we take on the Tennessee Titans. I think that's going to be a very, very good game. Now, as far as our network here, I want to thank all of our viewers for watching. I hope everybody had a fantastic time on our show. We try and bring you the best possible topics we possibly can. If you ever have something that you want us to talk about, you know what? Throw it in the comment box. And you know what? And we will discuss it, and we'll be like, is this a topic that we should talk about? And if it is, you know what? Then we'll bring it to the big screen, and we'll talk, and we will talk about it for you guys. So with that being said, I hope everybody has a fantastic night, and I will go ahead. Don't forget tomorrow, though. Tomorrow is our pregame show in the morning, and then we have our pregame show before the Sunday night game, and then we have Between the Ropes at 9 p.m. tomorrow night. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give it back to J-Mac.
All right. And real quick, before we roll in the last credits here, 2 things real quick. 1, we want to talk about our last sponsor. If you could not watch the show tonight, but you have a long drive to work, you want to break it up into some segments, you want to catch one segment, just one thing we talked about, go to Anchor. It'll be down there on Anchor. You want to start a podcast yourself, you want to do what we do, Anchor's the place as well. They give you every tool you need. They help you with your podcast. They'll get you anything you need there. Check out Anchor. It's anchor.fm.com. Go there, look up ASAP Network. We'll be there. All right. And then the last thing after that sponsor is that we want to give a shout out to our main man, Nate. Nate, buddy, what you do in the back scenes of this network on almost every show. I wish I had your energy. I wish I could do what you did. Bring yourself out here for a second so everyone could see you, man. We just thank you for you keep this thing going. We really couldn't do it without you. So, Vic, Ace, I mean, we couldn't do it without him. Am I right?
Thank you
Right.
very much. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. And with that said, Nate, we want you all in ASAP land to have a good night. We thank all our viewers. Nate, roll us on out of here.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays. Like working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. Network. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.